Anyway, speaking of crazy, did you guys know that Drannor pre-purchase comes out tomorrow? Oh my god, that's right. We've got the pre-purchase for Drannor coming out tomorrow. The magic of Drannor, you can see right here. We got an Eladrin fighting a red wizard of Thay. What's happening? I don't know, but these boots are pretty fire, so maybe we'll get them in the expansion. I hope we get this outfit. Both these outfits look great, so I hope we get them. Yeah, so this is the patch that is coming out tomorrow on June 12th. Pre-purchase for Magic of Drannor begins Wednesday. So what this means, for those of you that are tuning in right now, when you pre-purchase, you're not going to get the expansions right away. Read about the expansion when the link arrives tomorrow, so the link will be there. If I do turn this into a YouTube video, the link will be in the description for like the full expansion information. But you won't be able to play the quests. You're going to get the stuff that is not the quests, and you get the quests when the actual date rolls around. So, Drrannor's quest level 13 on Heroic and 35 on Legendary. Plays a member of the Eladrin, Elemental Masters of the Feywild, so this is a new race. The Eladrin Chaosmancer is the iconic hero, with seasonal affinities, transform elemental spellcasting, and spectacular display of unique powerful magic. And they are Wild Mage by default as their iconic class. And then you can also just play the Wild Mage archetype for sorcerer and unlock the new enhancement with a new class enhancement tree, which is kind of cool. Apparently there's renowned villains of D&D lore in Drannor. Followers of the Lich Zastam, the Red Wizards of Thay, have come to the ancient elven ruins. What secrets do they seek? I don't know. There's 13 new quests, an exciting new wilderness area, and a raid. The raid content will be released after the release of the expansion in the subsequent game update. So that will likely be update 70 will be the raid. So yeah. And the level cap will also increase to 34. You do not need to purchase the expansion for the level cap to increase. So the level cap will increase to 34 whether you buy it or not. It is what it is. So just keep that in mind. And then Wild Magic. So this is a lot of text here. TLDR, Wild Magic is going to come in two forms. Either you're going to have Wild Magic from your class because you're a Wild Mage or a Chaosmancer. Those two characters have Wild Magic built in. So if you're playing like Pure Wizard, you don't have Wild Magic in your class and you don't have to worry about it. Or you are playing in a quest with Wild Magic zones. So in the expansion, because Drannor has Wild Magic in it, there will be Wild Magic zones, marked off areas on the floor. When you stand in one of these Wild Magic zones, you will then proc Wild Magic surges as though you had Wild Magic when you cast spells. So this will mean you'll have to pay attention to that while you're questing. The surges are either very good, neutral, bad, or very bad. Thing about that you need to know about the surges, they do not affect other players unless they are good. The very bad and bad surges might cause bad things to you, like turn you to stone or cause you to dance, or lower your stats for a short duration, but they will not affect other players. The very good and good surges can affect other players, like giving shield to you and all of your allies, or casting regenerate on everybody in the dungeon, no matter where they are. These are some cool surges that can happen. You can influence your surges either as a Eladrin Wild Mage, as a Wild Mage or an Eladrin Chaosmancer. They can force the surges to be better, either by increasing the odds they roll better or simply blocking out bad surges entirely in their enhancement trees, but you got to put points into that. Also, it says here Wild Magic surges, they don't snapshot, so the way that the surges work is it is on the animation of casting a spell is where the surges activate. So Death Aura, when you cast Death Aura, you can get a Wild Magic surge, but every time Wild Magic Surge deals damage, Death Aura deals damage, it will not give you another surge. Same with Wall of Fire. If you cast Wall of Fire, on cast, you can get a surge, but when the Wall of Fire deals damage, it's not going to proc a surge. It's tied to the animation of casting a spell is how you activate your surges. The one exception is, of course, the Enlightened Spirit Aura, where when you are in combat and you deal damage to an enemy, it will then have a chance to activate a surge. Same thing with Eldritch Blasts. Eldritch Blasts are in combat. Whenever you activate your blast, it will have a chance to activate the surges. And you can check out your stats in the plus tree. Yeah, very bad. They actually talk about all this and other stuff. You get a warning. There's a visual for it. And also some monsters will use Wild Magic surges, but they can't be affected by everything. There's also, so that's Wild Magic surges. You got to keep that in mind. This is speculation on my part. I think that the new surges are going to be active in whatever they said there's going to be an event this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring wild magic to everywhere, where like, the portal to Myth Drannor causes wild magic to flood Eberron or something, and now there's wild magic all over the place, but we will see how that goes. Anyway, let's talk about the new race. So they got Eladrin. Eladrins are the Feywild denizen attuned to seasonal magic. There are two kinds. The heroic Eladrin, which is all focused on physical combat, melee weapons, ranged weapons, and then the iconic Eladrin, which is focused on magic combat. Both of these races are very powerful and are going to be very strong in their own right. Base Eladrin is dexterity based, and you can choose your affinity. It's just like a toggle in game, either spring, summer, autumn, or winter, based on the seasons, to gain a bonus to a stat. And then, as you level up, you can attune to those different affinities, so you gain a flat stat when you put points in the tree, and also makes your attunement give you additional stats, which can be good depending on the type of character that you happen to be playing. So you can get, like, if you're spring, you get dodge and double strike. If you're summer, you get crit confirmation and weapon damage. If you're autumn, you get sneak attack damage, or hit chance and sneak attack damage. And if you're winter, you get chance to hit and fortitude saves, as an example. They also give you a spell in the tier 4 all the way at the top of the tree. So you can get Vigor for spring, Fire Shield for summer, Night Shield for autumn, and Displacement for winter. These are all fairly versatile, and depending on your circumstance, can be quite good. Having Fire Shield that lasts, it's basically has a permanent uptime, is pretty nice in a lot of cases, because it saves you the annoying part of activating scrolls all the time. Night Shield, kind of same thing. It's pretty easy to get in a lot of places, but having it out of your tree, if you're a Raging Completionist, is just convenient. And not having to farm out gear to cast shield or carry wands around is just nice. Displacement is obviously good, so this one's powerful. And then Vigor's fine. They could put a better heal spell, but they're not going to. I'd like Greater Vigor, but, whatever. It's a heal. There's Vigor in Tabaxi as well, and it's not bad, so it is what it is. And then, of course, we have skill here. So basically, you're going to be able to just play as an elf and do melee or bow or thrower elf adjacent things. You also get classic elf stuff like the Nothing is Hidden, so you can auto-search doors and stuff. And then the last big feature is the Fey Step, which is a dash. So it's a dash just like the Thief, Acrobat, Vault, or any other dash, where you press a button and you fly through the air. You're going to be able to do that as a Eladrin with Fey Step. However, depending on your season, you get a bonus. Some of these bonuses, that gain plus 20 temporary bonus to dodge, it's pretty good. It's pretty defensive. It's kind of nice. Versus stuff like Autumn, where you gain 3 sneak attack dice and 1 dice per 5 character levels for 10 seconds, for a total of, I guess right now in the game, that would be 8 d6s of sneak attack dice. That's a lot of sneak attack dice. Actually, no, it's higher than that. It's 9 d6s of sneak attack dice for activating your dash. That's pretty good, and that's a lot of extra damage for 10 seconds, so it'll be kind of convenient. However, unlike every other dash in the game, these have a limited number of charges per rest. So you can't just like unlike Vault here for my Thief Acrobat, where I just press the button and I dash and it has a 15-second cooldown, these have a number of charges you can use, and you have to rest or enter a new dungeon to get them back. Overall, Eladrin, very powerful. Going to be used all over the place. I can guarantee it. Just really, really strong race, and it gives you more dexterity for racial past lives. Moving on to iconic Eladrin Chaosmancer. The big thing about these bad boys, they're similar to the base ones, but instead of getting Dex, they get Charisma as their main stat, because they are, of course, sorcerers, and they get Wild Magic. So even if you get rid of the Wild Mage Sorcerer, let's say you use a Heart of Wood, and you play as like a pure wizard, Chaosmancers have Wild Magic. So you always will have Wild Magic if you play as a Chaosmancer, which is a pretty cool mechanic. They still have the same seasonal affinity thing. However, their past life is slightly different. The past life gives you Face Stat, so you can use your air dash. So if you have 3 Eladrin Chaosmancer past lives, you can air dash 3 times in quests, which is really good if you like going fast in adventures. However, this also stacks with other charges of Face Step. So let's say you want to do, I don't know, this sneak attack damage step right here. You can do it 5 times per quest because you get 2 base and an extra 3 from taking this enhancement. Well, if you had your 3 past lives, you can do that 8 times. And that's a lot of sneak attack dice, so just keep that in mind. The actual cores are a little bit different. Unlike getting the base elf like hit chance thing, instead you get luck bonuses to your wild magic, which increases your wild magic chance, as well as the cores giving you intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, because this is meant to be like a caster thing. The Fey Step gives you caster bonuses based on your season instead, like spell power per character level, or spell cost reduction, or magic resistance rating, or spell penetration. This spell power one is going to be the best one for sure. If you're character level 34, then this is giving you an extra 100 and 2 universal spell power, which is kind of sick for 10 seconds. So big fan of that. So you'll see people using that for sure. And then the different attunements are based on the elements. So electric and sonic for spring, fire and light for summer, acid and poison for autumn, and cold and negative for winter. The upgrades give you a bonus to your stat that you picked, or not stat you picked, stat from the affinity, because remember each affinity is tied to a stat. And then as well as like some reduced metamagic cost. But the big part is in the tier 4, where you will get 4 different spells: Spring Storm, Scorching Summer, Autumn Decay, and Winter Hail. Thing that's different is that the regular Eladrin's spells, you can just cast them if you take them out of the tree. These spells, you have to be in the affinity. So you can't cast Spring Storm if you have Autumn active. You need to have Spring Affinity active, which is the toggle that gives you the spring stats, to be able to cast it. These spells are all functionally similar, although they have different animations. But they basically are damage spells, so they deal a level 2 spells worth of damage, but they strip immunity to an element. Spring Storm strips electric immunity, the Scorching Summer strips fire immunity, Autumn Decay strips acid immunity, and Winter Hail strips cold immunity. These spells are very, very cool, and are things you're going to be able to use really effectively. Are these going to be good on the top classes? You're talking your druids, your alchemists, your sorcerers. The answer is no. Those classes already bypass everything, so it doesn't matter. But on your other characters, you can play an artificer who gets lightning immunity bypass and also get fire immunity from Scorching Summer, so you can bypass 2 elements. Say you want to play as a fire domain cleric and you hate that you can't bypass fire, you could take this. Let's say you want to play as a storm singer bard and lightning immunes kind of trip you up, you could grab Spring Storm. It's all kind of cool, so we will see. Next up, we have the sorcerer archetype Wild Mage. Now this one's going to take a little bit longer to go through, but TLDR, Wild Mage is included in the pre-purchase of Magic of Drannor and is free to VIPs. We don't know which tier. They often tier out the purchases. So, there's going to be what comes in the base version, what comes in the collectors, and what comes in the Ultimate Fan. The Iconic is definitely in the Ultimate Fan bundle. It is what it is. It'll be available for purchase with DDO points likely 6 months after the expansion release. Where is Wild Mage? They said it's going to be included, so maybe it's in the base expansion. I'm not sure. But it'll be free to VIP. So if you're a VIP, you don't even have to buy the expansion. You're going to get Wild Mage anyway. So you can test out Wild Mage tomorrow if you want. Wild Mage has a new tree, which is the Wild Magic tree. It replaces Eldritch Knight, so they can't be Eldritch Knights. They also gain the Wild Mage feat, which just gives them access to Wild Magic. They get some new spells on their list: Chaos Bolt, Chaos Ball, Chaos Hammer, and Greater Color Spray. Chaos Bolt is just like the level 1 bolt spells, but chaos damage. Chaos Ball is like, it does the damage of Fireball, but it's chaos, and it works like Lightning Sphere from Artificer, where it's got this weird arc and explosion. It's okay. Chaos Hammer from Cleric, which is again a okay spell. And then Greater Color Spray, which is the Feydark Illusionist and Gnome spell-like ability. Both those races, the race and the Feydark Illusionist, get that. This will actually just be a spell, which is pretty cool. And then again, they get the Wild Mage ability, so as a Wild Mage, you always get that. They also, other than that, they're identical to sorcerers, so you'll be able to take all the regular sorcerer stuff, and remember they get access to all these savant trees. So what this means is, can you just play a Wild Mage, but then just go like fire and air savant like you normally do and blast stuff? Absolutely. You can ignore the Wild Mage stuff and just play it like a regular sorcerer, and it's probably going to be pretty good that way, but we're going to talk about the Wild Mage tree here in a second. Basically, the cores give you chaos spell power and universal spell power, as well as maximum caster level and caster level with every spell that you cast, which is pretty convenient. This will stack with your existing class spells. So basically, if you wanted to play a fire or an air or a cold savant, if you go as a Wild Mage, you can get Entropic Energy for 21 points and get an extra max caster level with all of your spells, which is not too bad, plus some extra spell power, kind of making it better than your regular sorcerer. And then we go all the way to the top where you get Channel Entropy, which is basically a spell that is Acid Well, but chaos. So it's cool, but it is from the capstone. This is not a spell you can actually select. This is not going to be a 9th level spell. So if you want to have this, you will need to take the capstone for Channel Entropy. It is the spell Acid Well, but chaos. So keep that in mind. Oh yeah, they also had Prismatic Strike in their spell book. I don't know if they don't have it now. That's a great question. Somebody brought that up in chat. They had Prismatic Strike before. So we'll see. They might have removed Prismatic Strike because Prismatic Strike is exceedingly good. I don't know. The only downside of Prismatic Strike is it's locked to the Artificer spellbook. So if they do have it in game, I don't know if they would have removed it, but yeah, we'll see. They did say they were going to have it. The cores are pretty straightforward. I'm going to skip through most of this. You can feel free to read it yourself. The long and short of what's in each tier is you will have spell-like abilities for Chaos Bolt in tier 1, for Chaos Sphere. Well, it's going to be Chaos Orb, but Chaos Orb or Chaos Ball. They're using different wording. The spell has a name. Anyway, in tier 3, and then in tier 5, you will have Wild Strike, which is a single target spell that is level 5, where you pick somebody, they take a bunch of damage, and then they start to receive negative wild magic surges. So you basically force enemies to take bad wild magic surges, which is nice. So just keep that in mind. You'll be able to get those spells from the tree. Additionally, you get Chaos Control, which actually makes it so you cannot get very bad surges, and Chaos Control 2, where you cannot get bad surges. The goal of it being able to shove the RNG more in your favor. So you can kind of mitigate some of the bad effects if you were worried about that. You get Student of Chaos, which increases your chance for wild magic surges, so you can get your Chaos Control and then have a really high wild magic surge chance. So 1 in every 4 spells gives you a wild magic surge, and something good happens every time, which is very convenient if you wanted to do that. And then you have the other option where you can say, nah, I like Chaos, where you can gain a whole bunch of damage in terms of +2 cast level and maximum cast level with all of your spells, but you receive very bad and bad wild surges. What this means is you can't get rid of them, so you can kind of make that choice. This is actually one of my favorite enhancements in the whole tree, and it's pretty fun. So we shall see. Oh, what does Prismatic Strike do? The reason why Prismatic Strike, the spell, is so good is because it does a bunch of damage of different damage types, just 3 different damage types, and also, if the enemy fails their will save against it, they deal 25% less damage. That stacks with everything. So you can use it on like raid bosses for doing like R10 raids and what have you, where as long as you have somebody casting Prismatic Strike on the boss, it reduces their damage by 25%, which is super valuable for doing like high-end raiding or like hardcore raiding. The problem is it's locked to Artificer, where they don't have an amazing mana pool, so they run out of mana pretty fast. So being able to do that is kind of nice. There's also Prismatic Mind, which allows you to have extra chaos damage onto your prismatic spells. This effect is pretty good. Basically, it just makes it so that when you cast like Greater Color Spray, it adds some chaos damage. Some people think that this effect is not amazing because, you know, it's only a d6 per cast level, and that is true. It's not like a pure damage effect. Where it's nice is on Greater Color Spray. By having it on Greater Color Spray, this means that your spell you're already casting to stun every target in front of you, which is a great spell, is going to have a little bit of added damage, which is just nice. You're already casting the spell, so there's no real cost here other than the 2 points. And if the damage is enough, especially if you focus on the chaos, if it's enough that you're actually doing a good amount of damage to the targets, with this, even taking off 10% of a monster's hit points is just nice enough to help soften them up for the other spells. It's convenient. One of the big things people are excited about is in the tier 4 is this effect here in Mixed Magics. Your caster level with spells is now equal to your character level instead of individual class levels, maximum 20. This does not change cast level of rune arms, wands, scrolls, or other items. So what this means, if I am a 10 sorcerer, wild mage, 6 cleric, 4 bard, and I take Mixed Magics, all of my spells will have caster level 20 on them. Now, I don't get level 15 bard spells, I don't get level 18 cleric spells, but the spells I get from my bard being level 4 will count as though I'm casting them at level 20. Is this effect good? I mean, it's really cool. Is it going to make any crazy builds? Currently, I can't think of any, and I've been talking to people. Nobody can come up with anything that's like insane with this, but it is pretty cool. And if you want to try multi-classing with some spellcasters, there's some neat opportunities in here, especially for some more interesting flavor builds. And I have some stuff I'm going to be looking at here. So that's something that's going to be there. And lastly, you have your tier 5, which is, you know, as we talked about with the Wild Strikes, you get the stats. You can get Slippery Mind, sort of, where basically this gives you advantage on saving throws, which is very convenient. You've got Rapid Surge, which gives you... oh yeah, Wild Magic Surges have like a cooldown. It's like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something, so you can't trigger them too often. But Rapid Surge literally turns off the cooldown and gives you a luck bonus so that you get more positive surges more often. So you press this button and you start blasting spells and going for those high surges, which is kind of cool. And then Tides of Chaos, minus to spell DCs, but you roll a d6 to add DCs of that spell. The average roll is plus 1.5 DCs to all spells, so on average, it is a pretty good enhancement to take, but it might be annoying when you get that minus, you know, you only get the -1 every time. And then they added some supporting, the past life, universal spell power, and they said they added some supporting changes. So a spell power tooltip in the character sheet has been updated. They're changing how the spell power tooltip works. So what the tooltip they're talking about is this tooltip, where it says like spell power and it's all in a line. They're going to make it columns, so it's actually going to be a big block. So it'll be spell power, crit, then crit multi. And they're also, instead of it just being alignment, they're adding in all of the unique spell powers. So you'll be able to see your chaos spell power separately. So keep that in mind. Prismatic Spray and Prismatic Ray are having their damage up to do a d6 plus 7 because they're 7th level spells, which is nice. Maximize and Power Intensify work for Color Spray and Greater Color Spray because you can add chaos damage to them. And then the Epic Destiny feat, Spell Power Light, is light and alignment and works for light and alignment spells. So there's that. That's the new stuff that's coming. What are the bug fixes? Stormsinger Core 18 and 20 have the correct maximum cash level. Great, they didn't do that. Fred's first date, it should be easier for hirelings to move around ropes and plants during your date. NPCs really struggle with moving in that quest. A string table error has been fixed in Water Savant's tree. Sure. Blightcaster's Everything Decays buff no longer displays an icon on the player's buff bar since a permanent passive. Good. The maxi females are not going to fall through their mounts when feather falling. Yeah, that's a problem that's been in the game for a surprisingly long time. Efficient Metamagic Embolden 2 and Magic Intensify 2 appearing on loot now properly work. Nice. I'm going to be honest, I never really use these, so I never would have found this bug. So whoever reported it, good job. An issue has been corrected by filtering when filtering by double-digit numbers in the Adventure Compendium. I don't know what that means. Trip and Improved Trip are now a reflex saving throw with a recurring fortitude save to get back up. This significant increase to the feat's effective DCs. To compensate, the duration of these effects will now match Stunning Blow, which is a reduction in duration. So, what does that mean for you, the user? Trip now lasts 6 seconds, which is way worse when it used to last literally 30 seconds to a minute. However, if you've actually tried to do Trip at endgame, you'll notice that that basically doesn't function at all. Trip literally doesn't work. You can't trip anything. I had plus 150 on my DC, and I couldn't trip anything. It just didn't work. Now, Trip is actually going to work, which is nice. So we'll see. Hopefully, it actually does function. We will test it out, obviously. The Dragon Lord build that I played, my first two-handed fighter Dragon Lord, was actually designed using Trip in mind, and it didn't work. So hopefully that build will be more fun to play and be more functional, and if it is, it'll definitely be a big recommend for me for future hardcore seasons. The spell Web now has a line of sight check to prevent it from being cast at targets behind doors. Fun. Violet Peregrine now has a map icon. Good. This is the VIP NPC vendor. Some voiceover nodes in Temple of Elemental Evil now play properly. A lot of them didn't, which is fine. The Clear Water Diamond Augment now heals its proper rate and value of 1 hit point per minute. Rest in pieces. This used to be healing 14, not 1. It is now 1. It is Garbaggio. So goodbye, Clearwater Diamond. It was nice while we had you. Corrected an issue where some quest panel tooltips improperly report legendary quests as epic. And we've attempted to correct an issue that caused in-game voice chat to not function. Yeah, the in-game voice chat wasn't working for like an entire week, so it's pretty rough. Engineering changes. Fixed an issue where the game client would fail to initialize disappear after the player entered their login information. Interesting. And decreased frame drops when mousing over targets. Cool. Anything that decreases frame drops is nice for me. And then note issues. Wild Strike tooltip says it does d6 plus 6, but it's actually d6 plus 10. That's fine. And Chaosmancer stat pickers should be Wisdom, Intelligence, Charisma, not Dex, Intelligence, Charisma. I have a feeling this is one of those things they wanted to change, but didn't have time to put in because it was Dex, Intelligence, Charisma on the preview. And then they wrote it down and just didn't make it into the game. So it'll probably be in whatever the patch comes afterwards, which will be 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 weeks after the release. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So there's your patch. That's update 68 coming out tomorrow, Wednesday, June 12th. You're going to see a lot of Wild Mages in game. Tell you what. Is Wild Mage good? Yes. Is Eladrin good? Yes. Is Iconic Eladrin good? Yes. So have fun. Have a blast. And yeah, if I do post this as a video, the link to the actual purchase will be in the description if you want to either purchase it or at the very least go look at it so you can make the decision for yourself.